If it doesn't...
You're listening to PTR Radio. I'm your host, Ishmael Ill. Thank you for listening. This show is going to be just describing what's coming next. You can go to PTRRadio.com, and there's a few new articles, and I have a multi-part article that I had posted up there. I made sure that got up there, and it's a multi-part. So what I'm going to do is ask that it be released maybe every week, each part for a week, and there's 2 different articles, so that'll stretch us out for a while in terms of content being posted on the website, as well as the audio shows that are being released. So the audio shows won't be a problem. We'll be able to keep with the audio content and have that like it always has been, like it's going right now. But the next show, what's going to happen is we'll probably break down what's in the articles, because I'll go through what's in the articles on PTRRadio.com, and then I'll explain some of it, and not just explain it because it's self-explanatory. That which was written, we'll just make sure to add to what was already written and give some details that aren't posted. So the first article is going to post, and then there'll be a part 2 to that article, and then in between that, in the shows, we'll explain everything right off the top without having to wait for the next show. So one won't have to wait for part 2, 3, 4, 5. That's just the written transcript aspect of what will be spoken about on the show. We'll speak about it verbally. It'll take moments. It won't take long at all as we go through each topic that was expressed in the written articles. But we can do that simple. The details, the examples, the documentation supporting what was written, that might take a little longer. So if there's going to be any type of longevity necessary, or time constraint, or time requirement, if there's going to be a time requirement, it'll be because we're giving more examples and naming books and documents that one can see in order to verify what was stated. Because as I said, we really don't strive to have an opinionated show. I want to be able to give my opinion like other people have an opinion, but we want everything to be fact-based. And I want, if I have a view that I prescribe to, I want that to be based on facts, not based on, when we say opinion, I don't want it to be based on opinion where it's what I believe. I want it to be my point of view. And that's a better way to say it than opinion. I want it to be my point of view, which must be supported by data. It must be supported by documentation. So as I read newspapers and I watch different interviews myself, I may jot down what I see, and I'll take the documentation and the data that's been presented, and I'll use that data to present a stronger case, or just to distribute the information so people can look it up for themselves. Because I don't want to say something and people take my word for it because it's not necessarily what I prescribe to. I want the facts to stand for themselves, even if it's a fact that I don't want to see, even if it's a fact that I don't want to acknowledge. Sometimes a fact is a fact, and it must be acknowledged regardless. If it has an effect on people, if it has an effect on anyone, we got to bring those facts to light. So that's what's being done with that. And the shows are going to, as I said, they're going to unfold a little differently because we're in these first episodes, and I say first episodes meaning the foundation episodes that have been posted. The first foundation episodes, we made sure to have the research done, have enough research data, and present that data in a way where it could easily be seen that the foundation of what's being said is educational, academic, so to speak, research-based. That was the aim. So even when we did the research and when I presented the research, it may not have flown. It didn't flow smoothly because we wrote it, we gathered the information, put it in sequence, and we presented it right away. We didn't necessarily strive to present it as though it were the news. We just did it. We just put it there. So sometimes there were flaws, sometimes errors were made, and that's all right. I just wanted to be, I wanted to have that recorded live as it was presented and as soon as possible, because some of the information, in my view, even though I may have known of it, I thought it was timely and I thought it had to be presented as soon as possible. The spoken shows are different. They're not improvisational, but they're less structured, because I can have an outline and look at the outline and present that, and that's not a problem at all. But the way the shows were written, the way the shows were presented, they were based on documents and data that was placed in a certain order and presented as a presentation would be, and that's how we did that. So from here, we'll do things differently, and not necessarily that we won't go back to presenting data in that way, but now that we have that foundation laying with the first shows that we did, we could easily come back and do a show similar to that, and it'll be more concise and it'll be more easier to hear. It won't be as choppy. It was choppy, it was static. If we made an error, we went back, read what we said over again, like that. It won't be that redundancy, or that won't be that raw presentation, so to speak. It'll be more refined, more smooth, more produced. But we didn't want it to be produced anyway. At that point, we wanted the data to just hit you. We want the data to be there, because it was a way we thought it should be presented that was necessary immediately, as soon as we could get it done. So we almost rushed it to the presentation of the people, to the press, as they would say. So everything is going well. As I said, the shows, we're going to change them and keep evolving them. We're going to keep being stronger, but we have a lot of topics to cover. These next shows that are about to be released are going to be good. And these next shows we're releasing, the subject matter could go indefinitely. We could keep on with that subject matter. And with that being said, I want to speak on the fact that we don't want to attack anyone in how we present the shows. Like, the aim is not to attack or discredit people. We're not here to argue. We're not here to have a debate. We're presenting the information. The people can take it the way they want to take it or not. We're not striving to get that argument through to change anyone or convince them. It's an expression of our view, and if that adds to what someone else agrees with, that would be fine. If someone doesn't agree, we must accept that as well. That's fine. That's good. That's all right. But as far as like being negative and attacking, because even in some of the documentation, we found some of the views, and then just some of the interviews that we watched in order to do these next presentations, we noticed that what happens is a lot of people get the information, or they get some information that they may think it's right, they may know it's right, but in terms of presenting that information to our other people, we have to remember to be respectful, and we are striving to respect the views of others, and that's our main aim, that's our main purpose with these presentations, because we don't necessarily agree with events that occur. We don't agree with everything everyone is doing, but that doesn't stop us from insisting on respecting everyone else. Even if we don't agree, we have to show that respect. And sometimes it's as though people get information and it's almost mind-blowing, where they'll find out something's going on, and in presenting that information, an emotional component is added, and people have to say, you did this and you were wrong for doing this, and then they go to attacking that individual. They attack that individual, and that's not what we strive to do. We don't strive to attack anyone for what was done. That's just not what we look toward. We're not attacking, because it doesn't make any sense. We want to present the information, be respectful about it, and at another level, we want to say, all right, although individuals did this, that's what they did. Now, do we agree with what they did? Of course not. Will we support what they did? No. But we want to go a step further and maybe even explain what led someone to do what they did. We can't be in anyone's mind to know exactly why they did something. But as far as looking at different eras of time, sometimes we can see why people said certain things. For example, when one goes back to the times of Booker T. Washington, people don't really know why he said that so-called black people should focus on the trades, education and learning a trade, and not really emphasizing arts and letters, the intellectual sides of academia, like philosophy and sociology, and like, I won't even say like the natural sciences, because the natural sciences are almost necessary to when you do a trade. Certain trades are necessary. Natural sciences are necessary in most trades. So I can't say that's not good. But what I'm saying is, in the era of Booker T. Washington, he said that because of the times, and he knew that people wouldn't be able to get jobs. So he knew it would probably be better for them to have a trade. And I could see that. But at the time, sometimes we can look at it and say, he doesn't want us to know this, because maybe he's striving to appease Caucasians. He's striving to please Caucasians and say, nah, don't get no academic knowledge. Don't get no intellectual information. Get some ignorant information. It almost seems like he was saying that, but we can't know what he was really saying. But we do know, looking back, if we look at it for what it's worth, one should have a skilled trade in case they want to work for someone, and they may want to have a private business outside of that on a part-time level. People might want to write outside of the time that they might want to work, outside of the time they work at their jobs, like an auto mechanic. An auto mechanic can work at a dealership and work on cars there, and then they may have their own business as well, where they work on cars in their spare time. See, so that's never a bad thing. But at the time when it was the comparison between W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington was saying get a trade, and W.E.B. Du Bois was saying study the traditional academic courses. And at that time, even when one looks back, it wasn't simple. They didn't have general financial aid. They didn't have Pell Grants in the early 1900s. In the late 1800s, it didn't exist. So it wasn't easy to do so. But when we look at now, one can say, all right, maybe get a combination of both. But as I said, if we don't look at how things are going, and we don't look at the reason of why things were said, and we don't present it that way, the message can be lost. So as I said, we may not agree with somebody, but we're not going to attack them. We'll make sure to not do that. We'll make sure we work toward not attacking people. And as I said, a lot of people, they get the information they get, and they get upset with what they see. They may not appreciate what's going on. And we don't really want to be known on that level for, we want to present cutting edge information. We're going to put some controversial information out there that people might not agree with, but we're not going to attack others. And there's a lot of attacking going on, and it's a lot of attacking that's able to be done based on things done. So, we ain't going to focus on that. We're going to strive to present the information, be respectful of the opinions we don't agree with. That's what we're going to do. And I say that to say we're going to go into some serious issues, though. Some serious issues that we don't hear a lot of people covering. But we don't want to, attack individuals. That's just not what we're going to do. And like many people, when they find out certain things, they go in attack mode. They get upset with what was done, and they have no mercy on, the events that occur. And that's fully, as they would say, we fully comprehend why that's done. But that's not our approach, and that approach wouldn't benefit us. So we're not gonna do that. And to our own detriment, to end up in a bad place for ourselves, because some of these issues we're talking about will be looked at as hateful, hate speech, and the time we're in now, the days we live in today, the order of the day is censorship. So people are fast to censor something, ignore it, and a lot of people are changing the way they view the world. But if we present the information for what our opinion is, that's it. It would be better to do that with a more tolerant delivery of the information. And that's anyway. Why argue? We're not gonna argue. We're not gonna entertain any of that, period. But we present the information so it can help people improve. That is the, that's the aim. That's the purpose of what we're doing here as far as the beginning. We want the beginning of the shows to have a foundation. So if we start speaking about and talking about and tying in some trivial subject matter or some lighter subject matter, if we bring that to the forefront, we want the foundation of that to be cutting edge information. So that's why the first shows were a little more intense, documented, more research, more source driven, source driven meaning where the information came from, the books, or what to look for. That's why we did that, because we didn't want to make it seem like, well, my opinion is, and people can have opinions, and the opinion can be valid, but we didn't want to depend on that, because as we get into these more serious topics, we have to have documentation to support what we're saying, or else we'll get caught in the middle of arguments, and there's no reason to have an argument if the information speaks for itself. And that's what this is. So as I said, we'll do a number of shows that are just talking about things. That we have the documents. We'll just go into that subject, and then we'll present the information, and then we'll keep going forward. And we'll have countless amounts of topics to deal with, and we'll do that. But in the beginning, we want to have that foundation of factual information. And that's more important than anything else. A lot of times it can be said, well, we want to make sure accuracy is the key. You see, the accuracy. If we can get accuracy, everything else is, everything else is simple. If we can be accurate in our information, and if we can, I don't see anything that comes before that, the accuracy, because as I said, people have opinions even when they present facts. People can be factual and still have an underlying bias in what they would like to present. So everything else presented could be facts, it could be real, and they can still be putting in some information that they believe is right. See, we don't know these days. We don't know what the source of information is, or what the reason, or we don't know what the reason behind the information being presented is. And then if we look at that information for ourselves, and we'll say, well, why did they say this? Why did they emphasize this aspect of the information? See, and we might not know. But if we look up the documents ourselves and we look up the information ourselves, it's easy to see, oh, I see why they said that. And then that's the place we will end up in. And that's what we're striving to do. We're striving to hit with the facts. And if we bring the facts and we bring the truth, we won't have no problem. But as I said, it's very important that was done, because the next shows, the next heightened level of what goes on, it's getting stronger. And I'll give a hint. I want you to listen to the shows, and then you'll get, and this is the thing, even though I seem like I'm not saying nothing right now, this is almost an introduction to the new articles that are being posted on PTRRadio.com. You're listening to PTR Radio, but the articles posted there give an indication of what's really going on. Like what I'm saying is, we want to have documented information and documented proof, and then we'll give a viewpoint of how that information pertains to what we're doing today. But some of the previous shows we did talk about things we said. Like if we did, like even though we might seem like we say our opinion on certain topics that are going to be presented in the future, we did a show that covered that earlier. So even though that show, it wasn't as I said, it wasn't as fluid, it might not have seemed as entertaining because it was stiff. Some of that information was stiff. We read some papers where we were just reading, you see, and we were reading boring books. It might have been an academic textbook, and it was boring, but the information was necessary in order to be able to stick to the script, the facts at hand, instead of the opinion. Like, we don't want to have an argument. So if we deal with the facts, at least we can argue the source of the material, but we won't be able to argue that the material was based in fact. The fact can be, that isn't a good source. That book wasn't good. That book is biased. Let it be that. But don't let it be, it's just my opinion and this is what I think and I'm intelligent and I know. Nah, let's present the facts, and the individual can decide for themselves. The individual can decide what they want to see and how they want to see something. And that's not a problem. That's what we're gonna do. So as long as that's what's happening, that's fine. But as I said, we did do some of the, we covered most topics in one way or another in previous shows. Like in the previous show, for the month of January 2017, those shows laid the foundation for future shows. In terms of, if we talk about society, we already covered the military-industrial complex as it was explained by C. Wright Mills. He coined that term. So, when people talk about the prison industrial complex, that all came from C. Wright Mills and his book, The Power Elite. I think that book was published in 1957. Excuse me if I'm not getting the date right, but in a previous show, we talk about C. Wright Mills, and we cover that. We talk about the Moynihan Report of 1965, Patrick Moynihan, and we talk about, and we gave what scholars said about it and quoted people like bell hooks. We did that in previous shows, and we gave a few people that spoke on it. So not only that we use quotes from people, that would let one know when they look at the Moynihan Report, they can go get a whole lot of other opinions. Well, let me see what this scholar says about it. Let me see what this professor said about it. And then we can at least have a balanced view. I'm not saying just look at the people I picked out, because one can go pick 10 other people and what they saw. Because sometimes I'll see something about some of the articles I read about the Moynihan Report I didn't agree with wholeheartedly. You'll see that there's an agenda being pushed here. And the same thing will be said by that individual to myself. But everybody uses the information differently. So if you're using the information differently, and you want a different interpretation, I just pointed out this is the facts of what it's about. We don't want to be in a position where we argue something and don't even know the information at hand. People want to argue sometimes and they don't even have a basis of where that knowledge came from. So we at least want to have the basis, like who is the source of that information. And that's what we were aiming to do by bringing the academic component to these episodes, because we can easily just do the episode, talk about just certain things and current affairs and news, that, and current news, but we want to go a little bit different than just current news, and we want to break down what is important, what is the foundation of where we are, of where the world is, and how we view the world. Let's have a foundation in order to move forward. What is the platform that we launch from when we move ahead, when we present information that it will be necessary for us to utilize in our endeavors, in our aims to do better. That's the course of action that we emphasize, that we want people to take for themselves, to adhere to the truth. We want to deal with the truth and as much truth as we can observe when it comes to academia, research, and education. And we can combine those energies in order to find solutions and to be able to move ahead. Because a lot of people have the position to make a change or bring information, and they may not know how to do it. They may not be able to do it politically. They might not be in a position to do it economically. But we can at least have the information to know what we need for ourselves. And that was the least we could ask. That was the least we could do, was bring the information we need for ourselves. And if we couldn't do that, if we can't have the information for ourselves, we can't present that information in an unbiased way to anyone else. So we at least did that. So if we just keep moving forward, presenting the information, and as I said, these next shows are going to be interesting. There are definitely some shows that must be shared. We have to share that. And as I said, it's not to be pushing for an agenda. We want people to see the information and decide for themselves which direction they want to take. And that's definitely where we're going with it. So as I said, I'm the host of this episode. I'm Ishmael Ill, and this is PTR Review Radio. And as I said, these upcoming shows are going to be different. We're going to intensify what's going on, and we're going to really strive to present the information at hand so people can make their own opinion. They can have their own information. We don't want to push our opinion on other people, because the information at hand can be received by anybody and it can be processed for them, for their own gain. Let's do it like that. So that's the direction we want to go in. So everything is good from there. We're going to keep on making shows. We're going to keep on, presenting these episodes, and we want to get to a place where we're going to make some additions to the show. We're going to elevate the show, so to speak. We're going to elevate the show to some higher levels, to bring some different information, some additional forms of media. We're going to make sure to do that. So stay tuned. As I said, this week, the shows are going to be specific. We're going to be based on the articles that have been presented, and then we can speak on those articles and like I said, the episodes will be coming out periodically, but we can easily go into those episodes in audio format, and we can just express what's in the articles ahead of time. And it's still different than what's written, but at least we don't have to make one wait for weeks on end just to see the information. We can just present it as is, present the concept, and move forward. So this is PTR Review Radio. I'm your host right now, Ishmael Ill, and I want to say peace.